Yes.
Are you gonna save my cash?
As long as you do the homework.
Yes, I will do the homework, I promise.
So before we get started, we put on the website on the consultation form, but we start recording training sessions, Zoom sessions, consultations.
Okay.
Cool. He's a big boy.
He is a big boy.
I was wondering if he was going to look like him. Is he going to look more Dobie? Is he going to look more German Shepherd? But he actually looks like the perfect, like, kind of 50-50.
Yeah, I did the like wisdom panel thing, and he's literally like 48%.
Yeah.
Like shepherd, and then the other half is pretty much all over.
Yeah, no, he would be an exact 50-50. It's funny. Yeah. Because he's got the body shape, the short tail, but then the coloring of a GSD. Is he from like a rescue or something?
Yeah, I got him from Hinsdale Humane Society.
Okay.
So I got him like a year ago.
Gotcha. He's a good looking dog.
Yeah.
I like him. So fill me in on Cash.
Okay, so he is the best. I love him so much. His biggest things are he's like a great. I need to be better about like being on him about being obedient like on walks and stuff. But once I like correct him, like he will be corrected. If he doesn't like chew anything, it's totally good. His biggest two things are one, he's very territorial, very competitive with me.
Okay.
So we've had a few situations where like people are coming into my house. He will be not nice unless they like acknowledge him.
Okay.
So if someone's like quiet or like hands in pocket or like what have you, they're just kind of like coming into our space, he will get territorial. He's got really bad separation anxiety, so it's been really hard. When I got him, I crate him when I'm not there.
Okay.
And we finally got to the point in my old apartment where I would be able to just leave him there, and I actually left his crate door open, and he felt safe enough to just like stay in his crate, and he kind of felt like it was his job to just like stay there, and he was perfect. Now since I moved to a different apartment, he has a really hard time. It takes him like an hour to like calm down to like self-soothe type of deal.
How long have you been at this place?
Since August.
So a few months now.
Yeah.
2-3 months.
Still having.
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen a decline? Like you said, an hour right now. Was it like 5 hours in the beginning, 4 hours?
Yeah.
So it's gotten less.
Yeah.
He's just stuck at an hour now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is the territorial thing, and he's nipped at a few people. So like even today, so I have two movers this weekend, and normally it's like a male thing, I feel like, but it's one of my girlfriends, and he I was literally like in my bedroom, and she like walked up to the door, and he like. She didn't say anything, and it's like weird because if it's not acknowledged, then he feels like I think threatened.
Okay.
But his biggest thing is the big thing. It's just like
concern.
Yeah.
I got you.
And there's been there's been like 5 instances where it's weird because like if you introduce something outside, it's totally fine, but if it's like inside, he gets totally hurt.
I got you.
So that's literally two of the things.
Okay.
Separation.
Okay. Do you have a school color with you?
Yeah. So this is the one I have.
I'm going to have you take one step back here. And then give a tap on that black button next to the red.
This one?
Yep. Yeah, I'm just going to see what it is.
It's on like 11.
And you can relax.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So right here, I just want to see if he has an association with the collar, because a lot of times when I get dogs that are previously trained on remote collar. In my opinion, they weren't trained correctly, and the owner will press the button, the dog doesn't know what to do. Okay, so that tells me the dog's not trained correctly. They need to understand how to turn off the pressure. Okay, so here, tap again. Just wait a second. Let's just try to figure it out. There we go. Good. Okay. So I'm not caring what he's actually choosing to do here. I'm caring that he's actually responding and giving a behavior. Okay. So just to see what his conditioning is like on the collar.
Okay.
So this morning, let me make sure I heard that correctly. You were in your room.
Yep.
The door was closed.
Open.
Your girlfriend comes over to like say hi or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he what happens then?
He started like growling at her and like approaching her.
Okay.
And luckily she's had like she kind of I think if she would have handled it differently, like he could have nipped her, but she said no and kind of turned her body.
Okay.
And he stopped.
Okay.
But that's not normally what people do.
Correct. Yeah. I got you.
And it's like, and she was it's not like she was new, right? Like she had been there all day yesterday, spent the night here, like staying with me for the weekend, no big deal. And it's just weird. It's like it's not like she was coming out of nowhere. So it's just her approaching the door of a room that I was in and didn't say anything to him.
Has he met her before?
Not since, like, yesterday was the first time we met her.
Okay. So that to me makes sense.
Okay.
For you, it doesn't make sense because you're like, that's my friend, right?
Yeah.
And she's been here for 2 days, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just trust her now?
Yeah.
But you have, for one, you have 2 protection breeds in one dog, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and pull them towards you. And what you're gonna do is, I'm gonna have you unclip your martingale there, or your flat collar, and just keep it on the prong. And every time he gets up, I'm gonna have you just pull straight up on your prong, but you're not gonna say anything. Okay, so pull up on your prong, and then relax. Yeah, he's fairly responsive. It's pretty good. Makes life easier.
He's pretty good on the leash and stuff. It's just like
The in-home stuff.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So, yeah. So every time he moves, you're just gonna do that. Okay. So, for a dog to gain trust in someone, sometimes some dogs is right away, right? And there are other dogs that take time. From what I'm hearing so far, I actually feel like you have a healthy balance. Okay, you have a dog that's a protector, but at the same time, who can be controlled. You're just having to understand how to control them behaviorally, which is usually the more difficult part. Obedience is very common. It's you know, we teach sit and all that stuff. You can go anywhere to teach your dog or puppy something. Good job. It's the behavioral stuff that's typically the problem, and that's where, yep, good job, trainer. And this is okay. Trainers like myself come into play. Okay, so you got a new person in the home. Yes, she's there for a night or two, but he's just not. He's not the type to just give trust.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that is actually healthy.
Okay.
Now, let's say for you, it's like, well, I have, you know, we have friends come over and they stay with us, and this is like a regular thing. Then it becomes a problem, right? But that's because of the context, and that context is not normal in the animal world. Okay. So, like the client I just had a consultation with right now, completely social dog. When guests come over, however, it gets very territorial.
Yes.
And they go, like, when the dog walker walks in, like, the dog looks super aggressive and stuff. I go, but your dog's not aggressive. He's like, but it looks aggressive. I go, yes.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even do that. I like know that he can't. So.
Yeah, and there's some dogs that can't. But to me, it makes sense because I understand dogs on a primal level.
Yeah.
But for the human, it doesn't make sense because, like, but this is our dog walker. I go, right, but the dog don't know that.
Yeah.
The dog's like, this is a person just randomly walked in, and someone's got to protect the home.
Yeah.
Because in the dog world, it's, you know, dog eat dog, kill or be killed.
Yeah.
That's the way they perceive things, right? So in that particular moment, he's in the room with you. Person's been here for a day or two, and they start to walk in and approach your territory, so to speak, within the up, more up, and you keep up and hold up, and now relax, just like that. The fact that he was like, I'm going to warn you, right? To me, all that stuff makes sense. Whether or not you want it is a separate thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you trying to stop this behavior, or are you trying to control the behavior? What's your goal with that? The people coming over is a separate thing. I'm not worried about that.
I don't know. I think it like comes down to I just want him to be like I feel like it makes him uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want him to not feel like threatened.
Sure.
I guess.
So there's things that we can do to kind of help with that, but there's no guarantee that it will actually make you feel the way you want.
Cool.
Okay. So open your leash and then relax. So, for example, I'm like 37 now. I sometimes I forget now. When I was like 20 or whatever, I had never had sushi.
Yeah.
Okay. And a buddy of mine's like, oh, we should go, let's go have some sushi. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, oh, it's really good. He's like, try the Godzilla roll. It's cooked, because I'm thinking like fish rolls. So I'm like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And I loved it. Right. So before I had that experience, I was like, nope, never gonna eat sushi. Gross. Then my friend's like, try it out. Right. And then now I eat nigiri, uni, sashimi, all this stuff. I love sushi. Right. So, but I made the decision of, I tried it, I liked it, now I love it.
Yeah.
Right. So for dogs, what we can't do, unfortunately, is make him not feel threatened. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the way he perceives the world, we can help to try to change it, but there's no guarantee that we can change it. Okay, so what we would do here is we would correct the behavior when it shows up, but then also add in positive reinforcement because we want to build trust. So that's where stuff like food and all that comes into play. So like another trainer would tell you when your friend came to the threshold to start throwing treats, right? But in my book, if he's growling and then the reinforcer comes, a lot of times if the dog is stressed, they're not going to eat it. Then the stressor leaves, then they eat it, right? So then we have that problem.
Yeah, actually, because I try to, because everyone's like, oh, German Shepherd, like you need to keep him like, because he's smart. Like you need to keep him engaged, like in his cage, or like you leave him something to do or whatever. So like I'll put like a frozen tongue in there and whatever, but he'll literally like angrily like bury it until he won't touch the treats until like I come home and
Yeah. So we would correct the behavior we don't want, but then use food to help build that trust. Okay, but it's not going to just transfer. So like if you did this with your current guest, right?
Yeah.
And then you made progress, and then let's say you have a new guest, he doesn't just transfer that. That becomes a separate instance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in some cases, you can do it with 20, 30 people, and then he goes, oh, you know what? People approaching our, room are actually nice people. And then he chooses to no longer feel threatened, okay? But in some cases, it's only the people that you've done the exercises with, and most often it tends to lean towards that way, okay? Because dogs don't generalize well, at least not with that kind of stuff. So it's funny because like I've had clients whose dogs were social, they get attacked by an off-leash dog, and literally like a light switch, the next day the dog is aggressive with all dogs. So they'll generalize that. But experiences like this, they don't generalize well. It's perspective or singular to each prospective person. Does that make sense?
And is it like, so, because he, when I was like moving and stuff, he spent like a week at my parents' house, and it was in the summer. And they have a pool. So like, and my sister has a dog, they have a dog, he's like great with other dogs, yada yada. And like, they're all just in the backyard, kind of just like, there has been no incidences, but then it was like, when people would literally go inside to like go to the bathroom, and it wasn't like someone in my family or like whatever, and it's never kids, it's always adults. So like he would never do that, or Pat's not done that. It's so weird because he's like socialized with them like outside, but then it's literally when they're inside. Like my uncle was saying with them, he was literally again there for like 3 or 4 days, and he was just like in the kitchen one day, and he was literally just went up to him and like nipped him, like I don't know, because like, he didn't recognize him or like he definitely doesn't look.
Had you met your uncle before?
No.
Just at one time?
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense.
So, like, can he never be in, like, social, like, is he just not, like, when you think about having, because I grew up with dogs and, like, always have dogs around, and it's, like, I've never had a territorial situation, and it's, like, I don't know, obviously it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't know how to handle it, and I don't want to, like, get in a situation where he's, like, obviously uncomfortable, and, like,
yeah, like biting.
Yeah,
I got you.
and even, like, the correcting piece, it's, like, I can tell, to your point, like, I can tell when he's going to start, like, if I have people in my house or if I know people are coming over, like, I could be prepared with, like, the collar or whatever, but I just don't, it's so uncomfortable because I don't know what he's going to do.
Sure. So that's where I come in, because I help educate you, because your dog is predictable. You just don't understand your dog, and that's what makes it unpredictable.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody tells me, like, here's an example, I had a lady, her dog bit her in the face, okay? And she's like, yeah, Jesse, this was completely unprovoked, unpredictable, right? I don't trust this dog. And then, they're filling me in on the dog, and the dog didn't like being pet on the couch. Okay, so
Didn't like being pet on the couch.
correct. So if the dog was laying on the couch and went to pet the dog was dropping on and stuff, right? So they gave me all these examples. So then I was like, okay, how did the dog bite you in the face? Because there's no way that your dog went from all the way down there and all the way up here, right? And she's like, well, he was sleeping on the couch, and I went over to hug him and kiss him, and then he bit me in the face. I go, that is totally predictable. They're like, what do you mean? Because to them as a human, because they were giving their dog a good thing, they were giving their dog love and affection and attention, they weren't hurting the dog, it was seemingly unpredictable. Does that make sense? But to me, I'm like, everything you just told me right now already told me the answer to why you got bit in the face is you were probably trying to do that. And they couldn't understand that. So that's why when I hear the word unpredictable, I always take it with a grain of salt, because dogs don't do things for no reason. Okay? It's just a matter of, so like I already can predict your dog, because I go, okay, I know when there's people that he's met for the first time, we're going to have some territorial issues or whatever. And then also, to me, he sounds like a nervous dog. Some of the things that he's doing sounds like a nervous dog.
Yeah.
Do you ever see stuff that happens and he gets a little skitty?
Oh, yeah, always.
What?
So like in my new apartment, you didn't really have to deal with this. I mean, I don't think it's like a walk up, but really, like I had a back door that just went right out inside. But now I'm on like the 6th floor, so like nobody goes in like elevators. Like if someone's standing right there, like he gets skittish. Or like if I turn a corner, or if like he's very jumpy. And also I'm like an anxious person like, yeah.
I got you. Yeah. So you see how I just called that out right now? Where I said it sounds like you have a nervous dog?
Yeah.
Because I already know what these behaviors look like. So nervous dogs, good job, have a hard time trusting. It takes more, okay? Whereas I'm sure you've met dogs where like they might bark at you the first time, but then afterwards they're like, right? So what you had described, I go, this sounds like a nervous dog. And I go, have you ever noticed your dog being scared? You're like, yes. That's why for me this is predictable. And that's where I come in to educate. Because once you understand the dog and things that they tend to lean towards, you can now predict things before they even happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So you also have, well not you, but he has some overstimulation stuff. So you see how he kind of just keeps shifting up and down, and his ears are kind of vigilant, right? He's kind of looking around here. So that to me is a little bit of overstimulation. It's the brain's inability to relax. Earlier when you tapped him at 11 and he sat down, 15 seconds passed and then he got back up again. Then you tapped him, he laid down. 15 or 30 seconds passed and he got up again. That's overstimulation. Okay, that's the brain's inability to relax. So if I had my dog here, for example, Lexi, my kitty, who I've had since she was 3 months, she's 13 years old now. She's like, oh, we're not doing anything, falls asleep. Okay, she just chills out, she relaxes. If she hears a sound, she might investigate, but then she's gonna go back to
You know, he's always.
Yes, that's also part of the problem. Okay, so is this stuff making sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to the behavioral stuff, okay, is understanding the dog that you have. So I cannot make your dog unnervous. You have a nervous dog, okay? Just like you cannot be made unanxious. That's just kind of what you lean toward. So we have emotional responses: fear, nervousness, anxiety, anger, right? Some people tend to lean towards these things more easily, right? So like people with the short temper, with anger management, they tend to lean towards anger. The one little thing could just set them off, right? Nowadays, anxiety tends to be a prevalent thing amongst a lot of people. I had an ex-girlfriend where I asked her to make a reservation at a restaurant, and she said she couldn't because it gave her anxiety. And I was like, you're literally just calling a restaurant. And she's like, I just can't do it. I'm so anxious. And I was like, it doesn't make sense to me, you know? But it is what it was, whatever. So dogs are the same. You have a dog that tends to lean more towards nervousness. The overstimulation stuff can be addressed. That's typically addressed through a structure that the dog understands and the consequences the dog respects. So right now, you're with the prong collar, because it's the easiest, you're able to kind of now get him to sit still for a bit, but you've had to pull up on that leash at least 10 times now, right? And this, of course, we just started this right now. But when the training is done correctly and reinforced regularly, you find yourself having to do these things less and less and less and less, because the dog is now being geared more towards, I'm under control until I'm given permission to be free. Does that make sense? That can also help the nervousness. The separation piece is separate, okay? Because it happens when you're gone. However, I would say it's most likely going to be easier to address because you've already noticed some, progress, albeit slow. But if you were like, yeah, like I'm gone for 8 hours and it's all day, I will have a problem, okay? But the fact that it started off here and has gradually gotten better, it's just only at an hour now, is good.
Well, and it's like, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, though. It's like, I take him to daycare every other, like, I take him to daycare on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the idea would be, like, it's pretty tuckered out on, like, Tuesdays and Thursdays, when I, like,
Pull up and keep up.
when I go in.
Keep up. And now relax.
But, like, I will take him out for, like, an hour and a half in the morning, like, on a, like, 2 or 3 mile, like, walk around, just to, like, wear him out, and then I use, like, calming chews, like, I use the, like, I don't even know what the right thing is to use, but I do get calming chews to, like,
Seems like a lot of work.
yeah, and I have to watch him, like, on camera for, like, the first 30 minutes to an hour to, like, make sure he's not barking.
Yeah. Yep.
But then he does chill, and then he'll be fine the rest of the day.
Okay.
It's just like that initial,
And he's kenneled, you said, right?
yeah,
Okay.
when I'm away.
So what I would do is reset things. I would probably keep you doing what you're doing, and then when we're ready, we start to tackle it, okay? Because I don't want to change anything until we're at the point where it's like, okay, now we can actually follow through and address this stuff. But to me, that seems like a lot of work,
Yeah.
okay? It should be a little bit more straightforward than that. So what I would do with this particular case is one, you have to learn how I apply everything, how I use the tool. I use it much differently than other trainers.
You use what?
Your e-collar, like your tools.
Well, and I've been like super bad full transparency. He got the e-collar, and like I do not use it. I don't know why, but he went to a training when I got him, and it was like he went for a week, and then like they gave me the e-collar. Like we didn't train together, so I think in some ways like.
Did they give you a follow-up?
No.
Did you request a follow-up?
No.
Why not?
Well, it was kind of in a situation where it was in Ohio. Like I'm from Ohio originally, so it was like it lined up like that I could train him then, and then I just like obviously in Ohio, so I didn't do follow-up. So that was.
Oh, you moved.
Well, no, I've lived here for like 7 years, but I just was like in Ohio for a period. And
I see.
I got him trained, and then I like, but it was definitely like a board and train, but then like there was no.
Do you remember the company?
Lead the Way in Ohio.
I feel like that name sounds familiar. I might look into it.
Yeah, Lead the Way, and they're great, and like he obviously they do the whole like I don't know, he's really good. It's just like literally these two things that are like
correct,
but
there's
the
a
biggest thing.
there's a big factor that's missing there. You don't know how to use it.
Yeah. I won't.
It's
Yes,
all,
I haven't used it.
yeah. No, like right now, what I'm seeing from your dog is like he's responsive. Like he's very responsive, which is good. That's a plus. That's why I was like, press the button, don't say anything. And I can see that they did conditioning because he was responding to it and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So all that, I go, great, that all makes sense to me. Okay. There's one thing, if I'm being really particular about it, that I would want to see is if I tapped one of my dogs that I train, they'd always come to my left side and sit there by default. Okay, not because I trained them to do that, like specifically, but because the first thing that we teach is almost always heel, and that's walking at your side and everything, so the dog always defaults to that. In your case, he actually moved away from you and then sat down, and the next time he got up, he laid down. Whereas a dog that I trained would consistently keep giving me the same behavior because the dog goes, this is what I know to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he is definitely conditioned. I don't think he's conditioned to my level of what I would want. Okay. So I would have to treat this as like a blank dog because I don't know how he was conditioned with the e-collar, and that's very important. But then also you don't have any know-how of how the collar moves. Okay. Which actually is kind of a bit of a plus because I'm dealing with a blank slate as opposed to blank person. Yeah, I'm dealing with a blank slate here. So I'm not really breaking a lot of bad habits, which is usually what I get. Okay. The only bad, like right now when I said pull up on your prong, you were popping it, right? And I said pull up and hold up. That's like one thing that I see right now because I put pressure on, I keep pressure on, and when the dog gives me what I want, then I release it. And most training is like the pop or like short little things like that. Yeah. And it's the other way around. Is you want to keep it on, and then once the dog gives you what you're looking for, then you relax the pressure. Okay, and that's more forward kind of thinking stuff. But yeah, like when I get clients that come from other trainers, especially positive reinforcement, they're like, well, we would usually give treats here. I'm like, right, but we're not doing that. We're doing this. So I usually have to untrain the person and retrain them. So.
Yes, I will do it every time.
So the first thing that we want to do is cover heel. Heel is super important to everything, okay? And also, you have to do homework. You have to reinforce stuff, otherwise we get nowhere, okay? So we always start with heel because most people walk the dog 3 times a day, 7 days a week in the city of Chicago. So that's 3 times a day, 7 days a week that you get to practice this exercise to get you comfortable with how the tool works, okay? It also teaches us what Cash's levels are. So if you're walking them 3 times a day, you'll start to come down to a kind of consistent range. Where you're like, oh, like he's typically 25, 35, So I go, okay, cool. With just general obedience walking in the world, he's within this range, right? So then when I go to address behaviors, I'm thinking I'm either going to be starting at this range, if not most likely higher. So it starts to give me information to start working on things for the behavioral stuff, okay? So the reason why the heel is so important is when I pointed out that your dog has overstimulation issues, the heel training helps resolve those overstimulation issues. It helps him learn to focus and how to just dial in and not just be constantly like vigilant on the environment, stuff like that. He needs to learn to just chill out. So I see how he was laying down for a bit, and then right now he's been there for like 5 minutes. Now he was sniffing, and now he's vigilant again, even though he's still passive, right? That's the brain, because it's so used to doing something, already starting to rev up. This is normal, okay? As you practice the heel regularly and consistently, you start to see him be more passive and calmer, okay? The reason why this is important to the behavior is that a dog that's already overstimulated or kind of on the threshold or on edge, already vigilant, much more easier for them to go into defensive behavior. If a dog is calm and passive, and they something starts to trigger them, it takes more steps before they actually get to the point of defensiveness, right? So like I have a few reactive cases right now. The moment there was one that we were right here, the entire time the dog was barking nonstop, and she just had a prong collar. We couldn't do really much about it, but every single thing. And after the first class, she came back. She's like, "Jess, this is the quietest my dog has been." And I go, "Yeah, because now you're with the collar." Because I was like, "Now your dog is learning to calm down and to block everything out. And it's calmer and is no longer like in the world already in the state, because this very easily becomes leash reactivity." Okay, so that's the first step. And then what's going to be tricky is people coming over, not a problem. It's once people are there and like you're in your room and he's in the room with you, when they approach the door, we have to kind of plan that kind of stuff, right? Because which makes it awkward, right? Because then the owner's like, "Well, Justin, I was gonna have to call it." I understand it, but that's just part of the process, right? If it's like I have a guest here, right, and I know they're gonna approach my room at some point, I just have the collar on already.
Is that the expectation that when you train people on the call, it is like when we get up like every day, all the time?
Depends on the context. If it's just you and him, don't need it, right? But if it's, "Oh, I have a girlfriend coming over and she's going to be here for a couple of days," you know, you hear her wake up, "Oh, I have to come around," right? Like, and then you can even tell them like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to be in my room. I need to get some work done. Please don't come over because I'm going to take the cash off the collar because you need the break," right? Like you're being more proactive about addressing the environment.
Yeah, well now I just either like yesterday when they got here, I just like went outside, like I introduced them outside and like had like that usually diffuses things, but obviously I didn't do anything for this specific scenario. But
Come out when she approached the room.
no, like I went outside of my apartment and like said, "Hey guys," like and then like just made it immediately like diffuses the situation if it's not like someone just knocking on my door
Yes.
coming in.
Because you're avoiding the trigger. Right.
So is that like a
And it's not wrong. Like it's an answer, right? But it's just not. So the way that I cover it is, you know, we have an in-home session, knock on the door, cash is going to become territorial. I'm going to walk you through it. I have an exercise. So if I'm assuming you know this place.
what?
Place. Go to your bed.
Bed, yeah.
Yeah. So he knows it, whether or not you apply it is simple, right? So the
We're gonna probably like a D minus.
no problem. We'll have to get you up to an A+ though. So when it comes to the training stuff, the way most trainers go about this is they go, your guest is going to come over, you're going to place your dog, right? If your dog is on place, your dog can't, you know, attack the guest or whatever, which is technically true. Except if the dog really wants to do it, then the dog goes, "Fuck your place, man. I'm going to bite the person because I feel like that's more important right now." The dog's going to do it. Nothing has addressed the mentality. You have physically contained the dog, but mentally the dog is still wanting to be territorial. The way that I approach it, we shut down the mindset. We go, you don't need to be territorial right now. You need to chill out and relax. So then when we invite the guest in, he's thinking he's in a passive state. So what happens is, if a dog is territorial and you open the door, you're technically reinforcing the territorial behavior. Because he's going, "Who's here and who's behind that door?"
Wait, say that part.
So when you go to open the door, if you open the door while he's territorial, barking or tense or whatever, you're reinforcing that mindset. Because he's going, "I'm big and tough right now. Mom opens the door, so me being big and tough gets me what I want," which is what's behind the door, right? And things start to get worse because now that threat enters the home, and now he's a bit more inclined to be defensive, right? When we calm the brain down first, shut down the territorial behavior, tell him we don't need that right now, we need to chill out and relax, and he's passive, and then the guest enters, he thinks his passivity brings the guest in. So now we're reinforcing passivity, okay? So now, because you've shut the dog down on your terms, right, is we're less likely to see things escalating. It's not to say that they won't in the beginning, but we're less likely because you shut them down. What most people tend to do is work around it, kind of like your similar thing, which is, it's okay. It's an answer, right? If you don't know what to do, it's an answer. So I'm not against it.
I literally just hold him, like I open my door and I'll stand out and call him because like have him.
Already there.
So then it's like,
Exactly, because you're avoiding what triggers the territorial behavior, right? But then what happens is the person comes in, he wasn't really fully relaxed, even though you've worked around the trigger, right? And then if the person leaves and comes back, it's most likely going to reset because nothing ever told you never told them, don't be territorial. Does that make sense? And that's what you're missing. So if we don't chill him out on our terms and it's on his terms, well, then he can decide to re-trigger. Yeah, that's overstimulation. That's he sees a dog over there. They were running back and forth with the ball or something.
Okay.
But that's the brain wanting to do something. Okay. So all this stuff is stuff I've seen before. It's not. In my opinion, if your dog was truly aggressive, we would be having a different conversation right now. Okay, because your dog, he would have done it already. Yeah, the territorial behavior, but that's not aggression. So aggression is a dog being aggressive for the sake of being aggressive, which in my book isn't really a thing. Okay, aggression always stems from something. In your case, this would be territorial aggression, right? But that doesn't mean your dog is bad. It just means he's protecting the home. Does that make sense? So once you start to see the world from his perspective, it's like, oh yeah, my dog's not an asshole.
Is there though a thing to why he gets that way? It's like the acknowledgement. Like not everyone loves dogs, right? So if someone doesn't like acknowledge him, then I feel like that's when it really like fires up.
Sure.
I like don't understand that.
So if they come in, because you said if they have his hand out, if they have their hand out and he sniffs it, he's better.
Yeah, or if they're like actually like
sure.
pet on him or whatever, versus like hands in the pocket or just like.
I would have to. It could be a couple things. One would be frustration because he's demanding attention. So like the dog that I saw before you, same thing. When guests come over, he's nipping and jumping at them, and the guy's like really worried about him. Like your dog's not aggressive. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's putting his mouth on people. I don't want to escalate. I go right. I was like, but if your dog wanted to bite him, he would have done it, right? Like.
But his is like super happy.
Was this with your uncle in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay.
He really had his back to him and he was like doing another trick.
Sure.
And then he just went up to him.
That sounds like a nervous thing. Because that, like...
And then most recently at, we were waiting for him to go to just got back from work and then had him like, his little sitting right next to me. And there was like a whole sidewalk and we were kind of like in the grass. And this guy, hands in pockets, walked like, didn't need to walk that close to us, but it was and he literally was like, that was the first time he did it to like a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And he didn't think I didn't get him, got him to sleep, but still, it's like, I didn't even have him, like I literally was holding him like this because I wasn't even worried about it because we had so much space. And then he just like launched.
How far was the guy when he went?
He was like closer.
Okay.
He walked like right by us.
Okay. To me, that makes sense. So, I mean, you could see it as it's escalating,
Yeah.
right? And I would agree, like it's, that looks like it's escalating there, right?
Yeah.
But was this at night?
No.
Was during the day?
We're out there.
So what I would, to me, I would say to him, it probably looks like the guy was suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, he was very suspicious. He had his hoods up in his hands and was talking and walked like right past us and was like.
To me, that makes sense.
But then it's also my fault because I didn't have, like I literally was holding him like this.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
And that's where I come in, right? Because I would teach you all these things.
Okay.
Because when I deal with dogs, I'm very cautious. It's best to avoid or have control before the problem.
Yes.
Because once it's happened, it's happened,
Exactly.
right? So I'm a very avoidant, cautious kind of person, so that we don't get things like this,
Yeah.
right? So in my mind, I go, all right, even though we've not seen it, we're still going to do it in case we do see it. So like I tell my staff at work, at my facility, I tell them, treat every dog as if they're human aggressive. Always approach them if they're human aggressive. Because the assumption is, oh, here's a golden retriever, and you just treat them normally, but then if you apply that to the wrong dog, now we're going to have an issue. But if you're just right away just cautious to every dog, we're much less likely to have an issue.
Well, and what is because I don't even know what to say to people too. I'm just like, because he is friendly, like he is a good, like I don't see him, to your point, as like a vicious dog, but like I know that he's capable of doing these things that he's done. So I don't even know what to say to like how to tell people to approach him type of deal. Like I don't even know that. What?
So who, like random people or like people coming into the home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming to the home. Or
Yes,
just
so that's
people.
more in depth.
Okay.
So the first part is, how do we bring people into the home,
Yeah.
right? Which is what I was describing earlier. Shutting down the territorial behavior.
Yeah.
That's one class. Then the next class is how do I build trust with my dog and this new person he's not met before. That's a separate class, okay? And then you rinse and repeat that. So I care about the people that he would see regularly, the people that would come over, friends, family, all that stuff. I don't care about the random one-off person or the random person on the street, okay? So like, let's say, now if you want to put in the work, you absolutely can, right? But it's not realistic to expect them to like everyone and love everyone. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not even realistic for us as humans. Like, I'm sure there's people that meet me and they go, this is an asshole, right? And I meet people that I don't like either. But as humans, we just learn to coexist and probably just not see that person again, right? He doesn't have a choice though. So in that case where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna have a friend come over, they're gonna bring a friend, and I really don't wanna put in the work to like get them to meet each other, I'm gonna put him on his dog bed and you're not gonna move for the next 6 hours. Like, that's how I would approach it. Or I kennel the dog, okay? Is when you know it's gonna benefit you to put in the work to do these exercises, to build his trust and all that stuff, you do so. And then when it's like, I don't want to because this person's come over for 3 hours and never see again, then you don't. But then he doesn't have to interact with that person, right? Now, the problem you may have is, oh my God, your dog is you look so cool, oh, right? And they want to pet him. You then have to advocate for your dog because that person is now putting unwanted social pressure on him, and that's probably going to bring out something.
But then my thing is, like, that's almost like that, because when we're, I don't know, most of the time it's been with men, although he has obviously done with women, but like, the elevator is just a really good example because that's like a closed space that like, we're closed, So like, when I'm in an elevator with like a man, and he, like, it almost diffuses it like when they do that versus like when they don't. So it's like,
but that's a gamble now.
Yeah, no, it is a total gamble, and I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah. So then I just don't do it.
Just say,
don't touch my dog.
Don't touch my dog.
Yeah.
But then I feel like when he totally gets anxious when I get anxious too, like, and I do that all the time. But it's because I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm making it easy.
Yeah.
Don't touch my dog. See how easy that is? But as opposed to gambling, is this going to go south or is it going to go good? You don't know, right? So that's going to create its own anxiety, as opposed to like, don't touch my dog. Now I avoid a situation. I don't have to even worry about the gamble. That's my approach.
Yeah.
Okay, because it has happened. I've worked with dogs for 12 years now, right? Where the person, you tell them like, oh, you can push my dog and you're gonna do it this way. Oh yeah, sure. And then, oh my God, right at the last minute, you're like, what the fuck? And now something happens.
Yeah.
But the person gave you, yeah, sure, I'll do what you're asking. And at the last second, decide to give out this energy, and the energy is what causes the problem. Yeah. And then they're like, oh my God, what's wrong with your dog? And then the owner's like, what the fuck, dude? I told you, like, approach my dog calmly, and she just came out of nowhere with this excitement. It's that. So for me, the dog is more predictable than the human. Yeah. Because the human can tell you one thing and then give you another thing. Yeah. See what I'm saying there? Yeah. So that's why I'm the avoidant. I'm like, don't touch my dog. Like, I don't care about you. Okay. Now, if you want an exercise to use, I can give you one, right? But then if it goes south one day, you're like, Jesse, what the hell went south? I'm like, well, yeah, so I told you just to tell people no. Like, who cares? The random person on the street, the elevator, I don't care. Especially on the elevator, because the elevator, as you noted earlier, is close quarters. The dog is going to feel more threatened, if anything.
Yeah, and I mean, I have started like putting him in, which I probably should have been doing every time, but I have been just like putting him in a sit and like putting my body like.
Yeah, well, there's going to be more stuff. So like with the training, obedience-wise, you're always in control. Yeah. Like right now when you showed up, right, you were just standing here, and then what did I tell you to do?
Shock him.
And what else?
Don't hurt him.
What else? What have you been doing with your leash?
Oh, like.
Yeah. And I got what I wanted. I just want your dog to hang out. Just like lay down, don't do nothing. Yeah. Right? Because we're having a conversation. I don't want that last guy that I had. He was all over the place, right? Because he wouldn't control his dog, and that's part of the problem. The more control you have over your dog, the more control you're practicing, the more controlled your dog is. But if you're going, I want you controlled in these very specific little moments, that's not going to happen. If your dog is practicing freedom, do what I want when I want, and then you decide, nope, not for this particular moment, then I don't like it. Right. I do what I want all the time. Why would I have to listen now? That's how that works.
Yeah, and he does not have, I mean, probably no shocker too, but he does not have a good, like, recall.
Sure, well, we can cover that. Yeah. Like, the obedience stuff I'm not worried about.
And he just always feels like, it feels to me like he's just very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because he wants to do something right now.
Yeah.
And what are we telling him to do?
Not do anything.
Exactly, that's the problem. Okay, but this stuff, as I mentioned earlier, the more you practice control and the e-collar correctly, regularly, this stuff starts to go away. Okay, right now I've only met you for like 30 minutes, 45, right? And that's why he's having an issue. But this isn't even bad. Like I get like the dog that I was mentioning earlier that was just non-stop the entire class, she had a prong collar. And we could not for the life of us get the dog to chill out. The dog was just going the entire time. That was a more intense case.
Yeah.
Okay, the fact that your dog is responsive, even with just the subtle prong collar, this isn't perfect, but it already shows me like, wow, this is pretty good. Okay, it'll get better once we change the tool and everything. So the tool that you have, the e-collar, it's the mini educator, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So that's meant for a 35-pound dog and under. Okay.
Aww.
So he is responsive. He was responsive at the 11 and stuff. Okay. So my suggestion is that if you're going to,
give you this one?
because it's cheap, but it's a good collar. It is a good collar. It's just.
Are we going to be able to use this one?
I'm going to give you a choice. Okay. So here, when we're dealing with defensive or aggressive behaviors, I always tell people you want to opt for the correct collar. Okay. Because the stress of the situation, the adrenaline that's running through the body can override your collar even at high levels. Okay, so that has an output for men for a 35-pound dog and under. Can you put it on any size dog? Absolutely. But the issue is if your dog became defensive, right, and I'm trying to control him with that or trying to settle him down, I'm most likely going to be a lot higher, right, because it's meant for a smaller dog. I have had dogs override the collar, meaning they just don't give a shit about it. They'll continue with the behavior. We don't have a means of stopping the behavior. So then I'll tell the owner, we want to turn around and make sure you upgrade this collar because we can't do anything because this isn't enough output. Okay. So I would give you a suggestion of just upgrading your collar so you know you don't have anything to worry about. If you're wanting to see what you get with this collar, you can. But then if we end up going through a few classes and then coming to the point of like we have to change the collar, you've essentially kind of wasted a couple of classes because everything that we did was to this remote system and not the new system.
But like, what's the difference? Like, it goes
the
higher?
output. So the collar that I would suggest for you is for a 70-pound dog and over. Okay, we get more from less, meaning his numbers would most likely, like let's say if I had a dog on that collar to shut down the aggression or whatever is like 70, 80. On the other collar it could be 30, 40. So you're just getting more from less, which gives you more of a window because you'd still have, because ours go to 127, you'd still have 80 levels left over. Okay, where I've had clients who are at like 80 on here. We're not stopping the behavior. They go up to 100, we're still not stopping the behavior, and then we have nothing to work with. Okay, so that would be my suggestion. It is a good collar. Okay, it's just you have a larger dog.
Yeah.
You also have a power breed, and I always think about when the dog is under stress. Okay, so you're welcome to start with this, but then if we end up hitting a wall, the first thing I'm going to look at is the collar because I'm going to say that's meant for a smaller dog. You need to upgrade to a higher output collar. Okay, but that's up to you.
What is this other color?
Cost?
No, called.
Doctra. It's a Doctra Black Edition, and Tina will send you the information on it. It runs about $340-ish with tax. I think these run around $170-ish pre-tax. The reason why trainers use this tool a lot is it is a very good collar. Okay. The problem is it's just meant for a smaller dog, but it's easier to sell to an owner other than like a $340 collar. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I used to use this brand a long time ago when I first started my career. I had 3 aggression cases and they all got worse with this particular collar as well, which is why, and then I switched them to the Doctra and they all got better. So my theory is this particular collar, the way it's delivered is sharper. The one that we use is duller. So I think that the way that the collar was being delivered is what was exacerbating the problem. And then once we switched them to the Doctra brand, all the dogs get better. And ever since I was like, I'm not going to work with. And they're a great company because
But it's the same exact like concept.
it's the way it's delivered is the same. The way it feels is different. So it's still a muscle stimulator.
The way it feels to the dog is different.
Correct. It's duller. The one that I use is duller. I feel this one is sharper.
You feel which one is this one's
That
sharper?
one's sharper. Yes.
And it's like, what does that mean for them? Like they don't.
It's just the way that it comes across, like the way they perceive it, you know. So when I had they were all pits. They were on the Boss, which is the like technically this dog would be on the Boss. Okay, he'd be on it's the highest output collar because of his size. Okay, but this collar gets sold the most because it's a more economical but good collar. Okay, the issue I come across is when I'm dealing with my behavior cases, I'm going, well, this is an 80-pound dog with a 35-pound dog collar, and there's that. It's kind of like a featherweight to a heavyweight in boxing type of thing. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So Tina would send you the information. If you want to work with that tool, that's fine. There's nothing to say that it won't work. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want to get down the road.
that's the thing. It's like I have a client right now. She bought a doctor collar, but she bought the wrong one because it was cheaper. And I told her, you don't want to do that. And she's like, why? She's like, it's the same thing with a little bit. I go, yes. I was like, but dogs tend to yelp a lot more with this brand or this particular model. Sure enough, her dog was yelping all over the place. And that's where we're at. So my recommendation is if you're going to invest in this, just do it from the get-go instead of like wasting a couple classes and then you have to order the collar and then you have to relearn the new system and everything like that. It's kind of like just starting from fresh. You can also put these up for sale. Like I'm sure you can get something for it on eBay, $100 or whatever. Because it is a good collar. Someone will buy it. But so in terms of length of time and everything, we have the behavior stuff, right? He needs to learn heel. We have to cover recall. I'd want to cover stationary control. And I would recommend you do in person.
Versus what?
Board and train or daycare and train.
Oh yeah, okay, so like in person. Yeah.
Yes, because
so you're actually,
you need to learn the dog.
yes.
Okay. I already know this stuff. I already know what to do here, but I need to get your confidence up. I need to get your understanding up so that when you leave the program with your dog, you're like, okay, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. I always want my clients to be able to leave the program thinking how I think and be able to understand their dog so that they can problem solve on their own. I'm really big on that because with the board and trains, we do them, but because of your dog's particular issues, it's not that we couldn't do a board and train. We absolutely could. This is easy enough for us to do that. It's just you're going to have a big gap in what he's learned, the progress that he's made, and what you know.
Yeah, no, I already did the board and train.
Yeah, that's the drawback. Yeah, that's why I was like, they didn't do any kind of follow up. Like we give people the option. I always tell them, take a couple
I feel like
weeks.
You would make people do.
No, like so I film the first lesson of everything that I teach the dog. So you still see how the dog was trained.
Yeah.
The first video is like 2 to 3 hours long. So you're getting a lot of information. But because of that, the owner a lot of times don't need the follow-ups because it's all in the videos. The follow-ups are typically like the in-home stuff.
Yeah.
That's most likely where you would be using it for. Okay. But for you, I would suggest just do it all on your own. You're going to learn so much more. Okay. And I make more money off of board and train. And it's easy work. But I don't care about the money. I care about the fact that we need to get this addressed.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would suggest in person. I'd probably put you at around 9 classes. Okay. That's once a week for an hour. Do keep in mind we have the holidays coming up, so just have to on that. And then this is going to be the last weekend that I'm training at Oz Park. I'm going to start moving my clients to the facility already because there used to be a bathroom here, and then they took it away. There's a porta potty here, so it's very easy for me to use the bathroom and come back and continue training. Yeah. Now that that's gone, I'm here all day. And I'm getting old. We're located near the West Loop. We're by we're by Sacramento and okay, cool. Yeah, so just straight down Lake. It doesn't matter where we train for the obedience stuff. And then when needed, you could just schedule your in-homes. Okay. Now, do keep in mind for the in-home, there's a $50 upcharge because I have to leave where I'm at to go to you. Yeah. So most people, what they do is they'll either meet me here and or my facility. We'll do all the obedience stuff, all the stuff that we can out from the home, and then we schedule the 1 or 2 that we need for the home.
So most of them are
at my place or here, depending on the season. Okay. So the first 2 are going to be on heel. That has to happen. Okay, because it gives you time to learn your dog. Learn the new system if you upgrade your collar, get used to it, learn your dog's levels, and then by the 3rd class we can schedule the in-home. Okay, so by that point we're already tackling the territorial behavior. We can do that, and then from there I give you an option. We can cover the other half, which is socialization, or if you want we can cover recall, whatever. But I know people coming over is a big thing. Okay, and that really kind of impacts the rest of the other stuff. Okay, so once we get that done, then it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating, and then also learning how do I correctly socialize my dog. Okay, so I would be probably 2 classes. So we have 2 on heel, 2 on behavior, 1 on recall that puts us at 5, cover stationary control, which is place command, that puts us at 6. Okay, and then from there we keep an eye on things. The biggest variable in your training is the behavior. Okay, it's not concrete. It's not like, oh yeah, we do this and we're going to get it done within this length of time. Obedience, I know I can get done in a period of time, pending the owner is doing their homework. Okay. Behavior, however, if it's like, okay, we covered the in-home, I see you a week later, I'm like, oh, how'd it go this week? Did you get to practice? Like, no, Jesse, I had somebody come over, plan to come over, but they got sick. Like so it takes the longest to cover. Okay. So then, I would probably suggest increasing your level of control that you have obedience-wise. So obedience allows you to have control over your dog in the moments where you don't know what to do behaviorally. Does that make sense? So like, let's say you're gonna have a guest come over, you don't want to socialize with them, or maybe he's seeming very timid or nervous with the person, send him to his dog bed. You're not gonna move for the next 6 hours, right? So now you've controlled him with obedience, and you know he won't budge for a period of time. You just tell the guest, he doesn't like you, don't go near your dog. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can't force everything. You can't make him meet everybody. That's what ends up becoming more stressful for you. So I like to give options. So sometimes we push. You go, hey, you're not gonna growl, you're gonna be nice, you're gonna socialize.
Yeah.
And other times I go, you know what? I'm gonna just leave you alone today. So the dog goes, oh, okay, cool. I don't have to always say hi to someone. That's part of being a good handler. So like earlier, I was like, if somebody's like, can I pet my dog? I go, no, I'll know you. Go pet your own dog. Like, my dog is my dog, not your dog. Like, that's just how I view it.
Yeah, I'm like the opposite. I don't want to believe that he is like aggressive or
Your dog's not aggressive. And even if he can become aggressive, that's not unhealthy. Like, let's say that person who walked past you, let's say they were of ill intent, okay, and they tried to harm you, and he bit that person. Would that be bad? You know. See, it's just, it's time and place. I will agree that, you know, with your friends and family and stuff, like, no, there's no need for you to feel that way.
Right.
We have to help that,
Yeah.
right? But there is benefit to having a dog that will protect you, okay?
Yeah.
So that's what the thing is, you want to understand and control. That's what you don't have.
So you're all the classes, you think that all of that will help with the separation?
Oh yeah, and separation anxiety. Sorry, I just forgot about that. Yeah.
Just that little thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be a class as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we think that will help.
Yeah. So we're going to raise our discipline, raise our level of control, right? The other thing is,
also will feel like, I know I'll feel more comfortable, but like I just feel all the time that he's just like not comfortable. You know what I mean? Not all the time, obviously. It's just like whatever. But I feel like, you know.
like right now, like I would correct that. Like if he's uncomfortable right now, that's fine that he's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm going to correct it.
Like physically, just for whining.
Yeah. Is there a decent reason to whine?
I feel like I've overstimulated him in the past 2 days.
Yes. Dogs aren't like this naturally. Dogs aren't like this naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all human created stuff. Separation anxiety is also human created. Because typically separation anxiety is when a dog feels they own someone. So, do you have a car?
No.
Have you ever had a car?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you park your car in front of your house. You look out your window and your car is missing.
Yes.
Are you worried?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know where my car is.
Exactly. If you look out the window and you see a neighbor's car is missing, do you care? Right. Why not? It's not yours. Yeah. You see how that works?
Yeah.
So if you're his and you leave, you're missing.
So are there like immediate like wins with separation?
No. Because it's usually relationship based. Separation anxiety, in my opinion, is harder to correct than aggression.
So for example, literally this is yesterday. I will tell him to go to his bed, he's fine. He's totally calm like when I actually leave. But then he gets like I said, he aggressively will hide his treats and like put them away. So I don't even know if I should even be leaving treats.
I wouldn't.
You would not.
I mean, he's not. He's all he's doing is hiding them because he's stressed out. I mean, you can if you want. I have no problem against it. Like I tell people, like, yeah, give your dog something to do.
Well, and then I will. So okay, then I will like check in on him, but I'll like I can talk through the camera, but I only do it like if he's barking and I come lay down. He will do it and I'll stop, and then he eventually like tires himself out. But is that like?
So what we do is with the training, we keep an eye on the separation anxiety. Okay, see if we notice any changes. So if it's like, hey Jesse, ever since we started the heel exercise, it doesn't take him an hour to chill out, it takes him 30 minutes to chill out. Like, great, we just cut it 50%, right? Then I would continue with what we're doing. A lot of times that stuff just starts to go with its own, okay? So we just keep tabs on it. And then like, let's say you're doing your ritual, right? We would slowly start pulling away from that ritual, no calming chews, stuff like that, and keep an eye on his behavior, okay? And to see if we see any regression or whatever, and then compensate if we need to with like the collar. Worst case scenario is you put a bark collar on, and that just keeps him chill, because then the collar will go off when he barks automatically. Okay, so that's like the worst case scenario, is that the dog goes, if I bark, this thing's gonna turn on. But if you put it on him now, you're only addressing the symptom, you're not addressing the root. Okay, so so I wouldn't say.
It's like a last resort.
Yeah, we incorporate it if needed. Like, I don't look at it as a last resort. I look at it as another tool in my toolbox. But I always see, what does regular structure and consequence and expectation fix? And then from there, once we hit a plateau, we're like, man, this is great, but we're still stuck with this like last 30 minutes of reactivity, and I really want to stop it. Then I go slap a barcode on the dog.
So, and I know we're almost done, but so you said 9 classes, so it's like 9 weeks. Does it need to be like, would you recommend like
Consecutive?
Yeah.
So the first 3 for sure will be consecutive, or as consecutive as we can, because of the holidays and stuff. And really, with the way that I teach, I can play it by ear with stuff. Like, it's not really cookie cutter, other than heel does have to happen, at least for the first class. But if it's like the guy that I had before you, he's like, is it possible to get 3 classes before Thanksgiving? I was like, probably not. He's like, because it's a concern that we're going to have guests come over on Thanksgiving, and I would really like to have this addressed. I was like, well, what we can do is if you can get signed up right away, we'll do the first class on heel, and the second class would then be the in-home for the territorial behavior, and then see how you feel about it. And then you have Thanksgiving. But ideally, I'd want to do the in-home by the 3rd class, right? But after the 1st class, technically speaking, I can just shift wherever I need to.
Okay.
So it's flexible, because sometimes shit happens, and it's like, Jesse, this happened, I really want to dress it. It's no problem. Do that now.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
What?
Other questions?
Okay, so all the things that you said, you would then work with Tina and tell her everything that you told me that I would need, and then I would just book it with her.
Yeah, so I would recommend 9 for you. Okay. I don't think you need 12. I think 6 might be a little bit too short because of the separation anxiety and the behavioral stuff. Behavior is the variable. If this was strictly obedience, I'd say 6 is no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but because of behavior, I'm saying you want to do 9.
Okay.
So you can turn around, you can email Tina and say, hey Tina, sign me up for 9 classes.
Okay.
Send me the information for the collar.
Yep.
And then up to you if you upgrade it. I highly suggest that you do. And then just don't, if you decide, I don't care where you get the collar from, because we sell them too. I just care that you get the correct collar. Okay.
If I say, what do I need to say? She'll know when I say.
Oh, I'm gonna tell her.
Okay.
Like, I'll tell her, yeah.
Okay.
But so
there's no real way that I could like look that up, right?
no, you'd be surprised. So that's my next part, is don't buy it off of Chewy. Okay. So that's what screws people up.
Okay, don't buy it on your
Because they have a collar that's the same name. So the one that I'm saying is Dr. Black Edition. Okay. On Chewy it says Dr. Black. So what happens is people order it, but it's Dr. Black strap, not Black Edition. So that's what people are screwing up. So then they show up with the wrong collar. I've had this happen to at least 5 people in the past year. So I always tell them Black Edition. It literally says it on the box. Okay.
Black Edition.
Yep. So we'll send you the information. We sell them. I don't care where you buy it from. I just care that you do get the correct collar. Okay. And then give her your schedule, because she's going to look at your schedule and then cross-reference it with my schedule and then see where she can place you. Okay. And then just expect that we'll most likely be at my facility for at least the first couple classes for the obedience stuff, and then we'll do the in-homes as needed. And then from there we can kind of play it by ear. If you're wanting to like maybe take a couple of weeks to practice the in-home stuff that you learned with friends and stuff, just to make sure that it's sticking, whatever, that you're comfortable with it. And then if it's like, hey, Jessica, can come back for another in-home, then they come back. So typically it's week by week, but when we get our behavior cases, there's a little bit of gray area there, just because you need time to practice and to get comfortable with it, to really feel like, okay, this makes sense to me. I feel like this is working, and I'm good to continue with learning the other stuff.
Would you think, since we are closer to Thanksgiving, then I should just start after?
It's up to you. Don't matter. I've had clients that like they want to start it right away because of like reactivity or whatever, and then they go out of town for 2 weeks and then they come back. Like, it doesn't impact the training.
Okay.
So I don't care. And then I'm gonna be out of town Christmas Day through New Year's.
Where you
Such as Florida.
Okay. But you think, based on what you know and what I've told you, that this could be something that could get better?
Yes, if you do the homework.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the biggest variable. I'm not worried about your dog.
Okay.
Okay. To me, this is not aggression. This is just a dog that he's a nervous dog. He's a bit territorial just because of his breed type stuff. Your energy, of course, can exacerbate things because someone always has to be in control.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you're not in control, your dog's going to be in control.
Yeah.
So that's why all these exercises are meant to shift that psychology, so that your dog sees you as the authority, and then he doesn't own you, and you should start to see things go away. Because we also protect what we own.
Yeah.
Right? If you saw someone trying to break into your car, you call the police, like, hey, get the fuck away from the car.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's yours. Same thing for your dog. Right? So when that guy got a little bit too close with his hands in his pocket and his hoodie up, his dog goes, well, this is my own right to protect her. Right? Now, it's not to say that you'll lose that protection with the training, okay? Because your dog will most likely still act out if the person went beyond the norm. This is the norm, walking past you, right? But the person coming at you, putting out threat is not the norm. So he would still act out.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right. If you have any questions, you forgot to